Well, hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. We got big news. You know, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she was always so good to me, and she was really right there with President Trump. And then she had her little, I don't even know what I want to call it, and I really don't want to talk about that. But I will tell you, there still are signs of things that Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing well, rather than just going after and bashing Trump. She was instrumental in passing this Protect Children's Innocence Act. It passed 216 to 211 through the House of Representatives, and this basically makes it a felony to perform sex change operations on minors. It makes it a felony to do hormone therapy and puberty blockers. Now, you had, 4 Republicans vote against this. Like, what are they thinking here? So I want to go through and break all this down today, because this is a very, very important bill. Our children are being abused, attacked through this mad science of transgender mania. So we're going to talk about that today on the program. I want to remind you that this program is brought to you by the Wellness Company. Folks, I mean this when I tell you this. I was saved by the Wellness Company. You'll notice I'll have a lingering cough, but I was bad a few days ago. I went right to my kid here. I did a little assessment thanks to the handy guidebook. I believed I had an infection. I started popping the amoxicillin in here, and literally within 24 hours, I was starting to feel better. I've got some lingering stuff going on, but feeling better. That's the power of having one of these Wellness Company kits. TWC.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off. And you got to have one of these in your house. Whole slew of other great products and some new ones that are out as well. Weight loss, all these things. We'll hit on that a little bit in the program today. But before we get there, folks, let's start the show off and then bring in our guest.
Uncensored and unapologetic. This is Stinchfield. Here's your host, Grant Stinchfield.
All right, folks. Well, it's great to be along with you. I want to welcome in my good friend Peter Galuli. He is the CEO of the Wellness Company. Peter, it's great to see you again.
Thanks for having me back. Merry Christmas, Grant.
Yes, Merry Christmas to you too. Happy New Year. I mean, we got right through the holidays. What better time? I think there's things you could use at the Wellness Company website for gifts for people, and truthfully, gifts for yourself as well.
Yeah, many people do. We have our gift card time of the season here at the Wellness Company. We have tons of people buying gift cards for their family members. We have tons of people buying those medical emergency kits for themselves and their family members. I mean, what better gift than the gifts of preparedness, Grant?
All right, TWC.health/grant would be the website to do that. Now, let me ask you, because you've been very outspoken, and this is what I love about a company like the Wellness Company. You guys do not shy away from politics, and you're the CEO of a major company which is growing at a record pace. You've been outspoken about this transgender ideology, the mutilation of our children. It needs to be stopped. Your thoughts on this bill that Marjorie Taylor Greene led the charge on to get pushed through the House of Representatives?
Long overdue, Grant. We've talked a lot about transgenderism in the past, and I think there's a few things that we should acknowledge when it comes to this piece of legislation. First of all, we're finally getting real sensible, rational thought around the topic of transgender surgeries, especially for minors. But honestly, Grant, I'll go as far as to say for all people. The first thing that doctors must do, it's right in the Hippocratic Oath, it's do no harm. And there is no evidence that any of these procedures helps anybody, especially the patient. You are essentially mutilating a human being and trying to make them into a gender they're not. You can't turn cats into dogs. You can't turn men into women. It's just not scientifically possible. We are biologically written in our own DNA to be a man or a woman, and no amount of surgery will ever change that fact. And we've seen time and time again, even in adults, the fact that these surgeries don't actually bring relief to the mental anguish that these poor people are facing. And it's quite sad that they would resort to this, and moreover, quite sad that they would be encouraged by the medical community to do this. But as we've looked over the past 5 years, there's been a lot of evidence that come out that the medical community is doing it for the money. There is a study out of Tennessee, I believe it was Vanderbilt University, saying, transgender patients are some of the most profitable patients that they have, not only with all the procedures and assessments, but also the hormone replacement and all the other post-op stuff that happens after these transgender surgeries. And these people still find themselves to be kind of mentally ostracized, right? They're not quite a man anymore, but they're not a woman, or vice versa. And it really doesn't help the underlying problem. Now, when it comes to the question of children, Grant, which we can get into, you're telling me that a child should be allowed to determine their gender. I have a 7-year-old daughter. Some days she's Serena Williams. Some days she's a race car driver. Some days she's a dinosaur, right? That doesn't mean she's any of those things. This is just how children make believe and play, and that's healthy, right? And we should embrace our child's gender and help them learn and understand what it means to be a boy or a girl.
You know, my son's older than your daughter. She's 7. My son's 16. But I'm laughing as you explain these stages. About 7 years old. What grade is that? Is that like second or third grade? Second grade.
Yep,
okay,
second.
so that's when like sports start up. I did not allow my son to choose what sports. Well, I let him choose what sports he wanted to play, but I didn't let him choose what sports he didn't want to play. So I made him play everything. And then I would say when it came time for dessert, I didn't really let him choose. If we were going to have dessert, then he could choose, but he didn't get to choose every night whether he gets dessert every night. Like, there are decisions I make for him because I want him to experience life. And I figured if my son at 9 years old is not deciding whether or not he's going to try baseball or not, how in the world do you think a parent's going to let him make a life-changing decision to change his gender?
It's complete insanity, and it's just a takeover of this kind of liberal groupthink and, frankly, greed on the medical establishment's part. There's a reason why you can't drive until you're 16 or can't vote until you're 18. It's because we know that adolescents and children are not capable of making informed decisions about their life, period. Right? Otherwise, we'd have 6-year-olds driving down the street every day.
Do you think that besides the money, and clearly we saw that with COVID, I mean, we see it with every pharmaceutical company out there, and here you are, a pharmaceutical distributor, I would call you, right? What would you call the wellness company?
We own a pharmacy. We're not a pharmaceutical manufacturer. We don't develop any drugs.
Okay, so a pharmacy and not a maker, but you've seen in the pharmaceutical industry from those making the drugs that money is behind so much of this. I believe that that's probably the case with transgenderism too, but I think something else was at play. Over the last 10 years, I've seen this kind of war on the traditional family, war on masculinity. And let's face it, if you're taking a woman and transferring them to a man, which you can't do, but say they pretend they're trying to do, you're not getting a very masculine man. And if you're going to take a man and transfer them to a woman, you're literally destroying masculinity. So I think that played into it. And all of this, the quest for money, the quest for society to like take men out of society played into it. And we had this explosion of just lunacy, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah, there's another way I look at it, Grant. I mean, I don't know how old you are exactly, but I imagine when you were in middle school.
56.
So when you were in middle and high school, right, you probably had the punks, right? Those are the kids that kind of, they sat at their own kind of table in the cafeteria. Maybe they got picked on a little bit more than others. When I was in middle school and high school, we had the goths, right? They would wear the big baggy Matrix clothing,
right,
go hang out at the mall.
How old are you?
On Friday nights or whatever. I'm 37.
Okay. All right. So I got 20 years on you. All right.
20 years on you. So I think part of it too is that, in any kind of social structure, but especially when we're growing up, kids are struggling to find their way and they get picked on. And, sadly, there are these groups that form that are kind of like the fringe groups that they're looking for their own identity. They're looking for kind of what makes them cool and different. And I think that the medical community found that this whole transgenderism thing is a way to prey on those weak minds and those poor children who have, are really searching for themselves, right? You and I days, it was punks and goths. I think nowadays it's like, oh, I'm getting picked on, or I don't quite fit in. The reason is because I'm actually transgender, right? And we're reinforcing that with school psychologists and all these other programs that we saw roll out aggressively under the Biden administration to push this ideology as mainstream.
So let me ask you the tough question. Then why does Hollywood, all these kids' cartoons, why do they get on board pushing it? Because they're not profiting off the surgeries. Is it a societal thing? But you've seen Hollywood get on board with this idea of transgender craziness.
Well, I think it's due large part to the fact that Hollywood executives and leaderships are extremely left-leaning. And they saw benefits in, hey, is this a new market? Is this something to talk about? Kids are seeing this in schools, so we might as well adjust our content to reflect this sort of thing, right? And it just turns into a self-reinforcing loop.
You know, it's interesting you say that because look at what happened with the COVID vaccine. You had leftists who got on board with an ideology and a response that the pharmaceutical companies and their henchmen at the CDC and FDA were pushing. The leftists got on board because they tricked them into thinking it's right. It's almost the same thing with this. You know, if it really is the money that's behind all of it and these hospitals are making big-time cash, they dupe the left into getting on board with it because they think it's the morally right thing to do, when meanwhile all they're really doing is just feeding the beast. In some respects, these evil villains, and I really look at them, that's what they are, the Faucis of the world, the transgender doctors of the world, they're evil villains. They're brilliant in how they recruit support.
Yeah, there's going to be, I think, textbooks written on the psychological operation that kind of the country has endured the last 5 years. And I think, you know, it comes from the top, and it comes from, you know, people just kind of blindly accepting the narrative that's given to us by, you know, people in positions of power as the truth. And I think that's one of the big fundamental differences, Grant, that I see between people on the left and the right. People on the left are much more compliant with government orders. They're much more less likely to apply any free thought to what they're being told, where people on the right are much more skeptical. We want to make decisions for ourselves, for our families, within the four walls of our homes. And we'll watch the news, we'll be informed, but that's a data point, but it's not the doctrine.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we've seen such a big divide on either side of the political aisle over the last few years. It's because people on the right are sick of being gaslit about what things are and are not, when all other evidence out there points to a different conclusion than our leadership was trying to tell us.
Yeah, it's so true. All right, I want to continue just a little bit more on this topic in a moment, and then I want to ask you about 2026 and what you hope happens at the CDC, FDA, RFK Jr., and all of those things. Before I get into that, it is cold and flu season. I don't know if I had a strain of the flu, or I tend to think it might have been RSV. I don't know what I had, but I can tell you this right now, that flu season is most certainly here. Everybody's pushing the vaccine. The reality is the flu vaccine doesn't directly match this year's strain. So Dr. McCullough, who works with Peter Gallulli over at the Wellness Company, has been so fantastic, has made it clear that this strain is not going to respond well to the current vaccine, which means personal preparation is everything. And here's where the Wellness Company comes in. Step one is the immune defense nasal and throat spray. Dr. McCullough has talked to us about this on the program. He uses it every day. I have started to use it, but I started to use it probably too late. I should have been using it before, and I just started it this week. So the immune defense nasal and throat spray, used daily to help support your body's first line of defense. Step two is the contagion emergency kit. That's where my medical kit came in handy because I had an infection. My amoxicillin killed it. In this case, if it's the flu, hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, which is both in that kit, you can start treatment right away, and you can start it early. So you're not stuck in long lines, shelling out big money, or in line at the urgent care. This is not about fear. It's about common sense. So get prepared now. Go to twc.health/Grant. Use the promo code GRANT. There's links to that contagion kit, That's going to have the hydroxychloroquine and the ivermectin. The kit that I showed you also has ivermectin in it, which is very, very helpful. And then I'm telling you, I'm so excited about this throat nasal spray to stop this. I should have done it. My biggest regret, by the way, twc.health/Grant, promo code Grant. Use Grant for 10% off. Peter, my biggest regret, and I'm just going to admit it, I should have been using this throat and nasal spray earlier, and then I started it after I got sick. I should have actually started it long before.
It was a novel concept to me, Grant, and Dr. McCullough was talking about this product for some time before we finally developed and rolled it out. And it's kind of funny if you think about it, right? You brush your teeth every day, you take a shower every day. That's called good hygiene, but you're not actually doing anything for your sinuses. That's where viruses and bacteria grow and incubate. So before you're sick, you're going to be incubating these viruses in your nasal cavity and sinuses. Why wouldn't you address it every day?
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Dr. McCullough designed these sprays, use morning and night, and when you wake up, go to bed, flushes out your sinuses, kills anything that's growing up there. I mean, I've used it personally this year while I've been traveling, and that's really what I've seen myself get the most sick in the past was, you're sitting on an airplane for 3 hours and everyone's coughing on you. Get off the plane, in the nostrils, haven't had a single issue.
I mean, it makes the most sense. You just summed it up. You brush your teeth. You want to get bacteria out of your mouth. Why wouldn't you want to get bacteria out of your nose and throat? I like right before I came on, I told you I just took a shower. Why? Because I want to be clean. Why wouldn't you clean out everywhere? So it's great. The website, again, let me throw it up here for everybody to see it, twc.health/Grant. Use that promo code Grant. Link is in the description of this video, too. And by the way, as you're watching, please like and share this podcast as well. All right, real quick, Peter, just to finish up on this. I told you there were four Republicans that voted against this transgender bill. Mike Lawler of New York, and I love naming names because I think people need to know who votes against this stuff. Mike Lawler of New York, Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, Mike Kennedy of Utah, Gabe Evans of Colorado. Why they would vote against this stuff, even if you're in a swing district, I don't care. You got to do what's right, and that tells me a lot about somebody. Now, on the other side of this, you had three Democrats, only three, but three Democrats who voted for it. Henry Cuellar of Texas, Vicente Gonzalez of Texas, and Donald Davis of North Carolina. So congratulations to those Democrats. It's not often that I give a kudos, but, it's important. We call it out when we see wrong, and we applaud when we see right, Peter.
It absolutely is, and it's funny those states that you mentioned that the Democrats are representing because they obviously know who their constituents are. Yeah,
Colorado.
Republicans, shame on them, spineless.
So, lastly, Dan Crenshaw has a bill that goes along with it's basically an alternative bill. I don't like Dan Crenshaw. I'm going to tell you right now. I kind of have a kind of a waging war with him. I don't know how to think about this, and maybe you can help me with this. He has a bill that is basically an emergency parachute bill that if they can't get the felony to perform these things bill passed through the Senate, his bill is called No Harm in Medicaid Act, which would say no taxpayer money is going to pay for these sex change operations and hormone therapy. Now, I do think that's very important, and I think that's a good bill. I'd rather have it be a felony. I'm worried what's going to happen is we're going to get down to his bill, and we're going to lose the bill that just passed.
Yeah, it's certainly a stopgap and not actually the solution here. Look, the solution is that transgender surgeries need to be outlawed at a federal level, nationwide, all ages, full stop, right? There's much, much better ways to address the mental health issues that these people are facing rather than making empty promises that we actually can fulfill their dreams by turning a man into a woman or vice versa.
All right.
So I think that's where it needs to happen.
All right. Next topic on the hit parade. You know, I know you're not a doctor, but certainly you surround yourself with literally the best doctors out there. The Wellness Company has, I remember Elon Musk said President Trump created the greatest cabinet that has ever been. I feel like you've created the greatest team of of doctors that ever been. It's like that Olympic basketball team that had Jordan and Olajuwon and all the greats on that team. You surrounded yourself by great ones. What is the talk amongst the crew at the wellness company about what you all would like to see for 2026 from the FDA, CDC, RFK Jr., et cetera?
Yeah, so 2025, Grant, had some good steps, right? I think we all can agree that the FDA is moving in the right direction on things like the food supply. I think getting rid of some of these dyes is an important first step. They made some positive steps on the questions of vaccines, and I think that HHS has more work to be done on that front, but at least starting to talk about vaccines in a common sense way and confirming things that we've suspected all along, like why are we vaccinating 6-week-old babies against hepatitis B, which is an STD, for instance. I think they had some misses, right? I think the Tylenol autism announcement was honestly quite weak. The evidence that Tylenol actually is driving the autism boom in America really does not exist. And I think that if they were to actually turn a critical eye to the number of vaccines over the past 70 years that we're giving people under 2 and how that has scaled proportionally with the rise in autism rates, we would have a much different story. But hey, it's a first step, and maybe we'll get there. Look, next year, I think there's a few important things that the Secretary Kennedy and HHS should do. Number one, it's continue this track on the vaccine evaluations. I think we need real science, evidence-driven conclusions on which vaccines we should be taking and which vaccines we should not be taking. The second, which I'm extremely excited about, is related to cancer. I mean, cancer affects 1 in 3 Americans directly throughout their lifetimes. Our own Dr. Harvey Reich, who's on our chief medical board, was named chairman of the president's board on cancer. He is a huge proponent at looking at some of these alternative cancer treatments that we've been talking about a lot, things like ivermectin and mebendazole. He was also one of the people who was most outspoken and vocal on the use of hydroxychloroquine to use COVID-19 because he looks at the science. And I think having somebody at the top levels of our government who's going to look at cancer more holistically rather than just saying, hey, it's more chemo or it's better chemo or it's different radiation. I think having some fresh ideas is going to benefit and save lives and honestly save people a lot of money. So I think those are some really good things to look forward to in 2026.
Yeah. All of those things, we're making progress, I think, almost with every age, especially the DOJ. People have been frustrated. We're not making the progress we want to make. But, like you said, with the certain things happening with the food, I actually was blessed. I got to meet with RFK Jr. in a very, very small group. There were about 5 of us for about 45 minutes at the White House last week. And he is adamant that he's going to keep moving forward. And so though I met with him and I felt hopeful with that, when I was out, I was surprised, actually. This is not tooting my own horn. It's actually being surprised that we have as much kind of traction as we do, this podcast and everybody out there. There were a lot of government, I don't want to call them deep staters, but just bureaucrats that recognized me. So I'll get recognized a lot in Palm Beach. I get recognized a lot in Texas or places that are conservative. If I go to New York, nobody's recognizing me in New York, right? I was shocked in D.C. how often I got recognized by these government types, which tells me they're very interested in what we're saying and our side is saying, and they're looking at things like that. And it was interesting because I had some interesting conversations with them. And the one I came away with is a woman that works at NIH, and she is a program manager there, whatever the hell that means. She said she's on Zoom calls, and everybody hates RFK Jr. They openly talk about how they despise what he's doing in the agency on these Zoom calls, which you have dozens of people on the Zoom calls as they're working this. What he faces and the backlash to clean that agency out, I'm sure this is like every agency when it comes to Trump. But to me, I said to her, you got to tape one of these calls. You got to record one and get it to me so I can play this. But she said it is just so prevalent, the hatred of what he's trying to do there. To me, that's sad, Peter.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if, people lower down in the Trump administration as well take that attitude. I think, one of the big challenges that we face in our time is that, over the past 2 decades, we've essentially created a shadow fourth branch of government, all these agencies, right? And the issue is that none of these people are elected. None of these people are ever voted for. And most of them, we have no idea who they are, what their background is, and what their agenda is. Yet, they're given a tremendous amount of authority to make decisions on behalf of the American people and make decisions that affect our day-to-day lives. And moreover, you look at the tenures of these people. Take even Fauci, for example, Grant. He was, weaseling around the halls of government for decades. Nobody ever elected him.
Yeah.
He was just in and out, appointed in different positions, different roles, and quietly affecting the agenda that he felt to be in the best interest of him and his friends.
Of him and his friends.
That's what happened.
Certainly not the American public. That's for sure. Before I let you go, the one thing I love about the Wellness Company is you guys most certainly are in the best interest of the people out there. They really are so committed to the health and well-being of all of you out there. There is a weight loss product called Drop, and it's fabulous. You don't want to get off these GLP-1s, man. They eat your muscle alive, and they're not healthy for you. I'm just telling you, they're not. This product, Drop, is all natural. TWC.health/Grant. Use the promo code GRANT. That's TWC.health/Grant. Use that promo code GRANT for 10% off every product except Drop. Use GRANT100 and you'll get $100 off the Drop product. Okay? TWC.health/Grant. Use the promo code GRANT100 for $100 off the weight loss supplement Drop from the Wellness Company, which is absolutely fabulous. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for joining me. Stinchfield's Army Rolls. Thanks to all of you. We'll see you on the Real America's Voice show tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. See you then.